Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equality, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders.
I am Larvetta Lofton, your host and the founder of the L3 Agency.
Known as the brand maven who transforms organizations with her storytelling prowess, meet Larvetta L. Lofton, host of Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back. Oh my gosh. I'm excited to be back in the studio. I take a little bit of a sabbatical, play catch up, enjoy all the things that we do in the summer, like, take summer day Fridays. But Fridays, we are in the studio. So today we're back in the studio. So my summer Fridays are now cut short. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm always excited to come back in the studio and be with my audio engineer and the dogs. They greet me with excitement. So I am overjoyed. I hope everyone had a good summer. I know it's still the summer, but you all know the summer to me, it starts to stop when the kids go back to school. But for us, for those of us who don't have kids, for us, right, summer can go all the way to summer, September 20th. But I feel like the traffic starts to change. The kids are back in school, so then the traffic becomes bad. So I love when they're out because you can get up the street in like 10 minutes. But when the kids are in, it takes you about 25 minutes. But if you live in Chicago, there's traffic everywhere. So especially on a Friday. Guys, I just want to share with you all that we're just doing something different in this next season, merely because we felt like it was important to really discuss trauma. That's different for this podcast because we are a podcast that talks about collaborating with Black businesses, collaborating with minority-owned businesses, telling their stories, and how we can build an ecosystem where people can hire more Black businesses. That's the whole purpose. And so our whole purpose was, as a unit, Black businesses are the largest employers of Black people. And so it's important that we shine light on business owners because they are not only hiring, but they are securing new talent. They are buying new equipment. They are taking on new resources. They are participating in cohorts. And if people just forget about all the things that business owners do. And so this was designed for people to know that we have a plethora of Black business owners all over the world who service all people, whether that is, people of color or just, they are solving a problem. And so I think that's the biggest thing is that Black business owners are solving problems all over the world, from products to services. And so I think it's important to talk about the trauma that impacts how a business thrives. And so many of our Black businesses have started their business because they were pushed out of corporate America, or perhaps they were laid off, or it could be a number of reasons. But mostly, my research that I have gathered is that about 7 out of 10 people typically start businesses because they were pushed out. And the time was right for them to start that business that they've always desired. And so we feel like that part of that trauma bleeds into our businesses, and how does that impact how we show up in the world? And so our next guest is a guest that I found, and I love when I find people on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is my jam. And I saw that He had a beautiful podcast studio in Wisconsin. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And so I was inspired. And so he gave me his time to share just some best practices, some things that he's learned along the way. And he shared his story. And so that made me say, I want to have you on the show. And so he said, absolutely. And he came all the way from Wisconsin. I know that's not so far for most of you all. It's only a couple of hours, but I don't take it lightly that he drove into our studio to actually be able to record live where we could, not live, guys, you're going to get this tape, but he didn't want to do it online. He was like, hey, I'm making a trip. He did some networking events and came in the studio. So I'm excited to be able to be across the room and across the table from him. And so I really want you to lean into this season. This is a season that is going to be very different for us, going to be very different for me. And I look forward to getting feedback. Again, leave us a review. Tell us how you felt about this season. Is there something or if you want to see something else, we're really wanting to do something different as we ramp up with over 100 episodes. So we just don't want to get stale. We don't want to get old. We want to make sure we stay fresh, but we also want to be effective. And we want to be inspiring. So our next guest, Elzie the Entrepreneur Flenard, is a speaker, author, and mastery mentor dedicated to helping purpose-driven entrepreneurs master themselves and their businesses. As the founder of Journey to Mastery, he equips leaders with faith-centered strategies to align mindset, mission, message, and methods. Through his programs, podcast, and community, Elzie empowers entrepreneurs to grow with clarity, confidence, and intention. With a passion for transformation, he inspires others to embrace their story, own their voice, and create meaningful impact in the world. Welcome to the show, Elzie.
I'm super excited to be here.
So, as a podcast host yourself, how does it feel to be on the other side?
Well, over the years, I've done more of this and being on the other side. So it's cool. It's very different.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
It's cool. Okay. Yeah. So you like sitting in the seat too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. So tell me, right? And I love because we had the conversation of faith. And that is something that we're diving into with this whole thing of faith and trauma and the impact and how it evolves and how it shows up in our numbers, right? Because it shows, that's what you and I talked about. And so, but how did you get here? Like, how did you get to say, I am the mastery mentor?
That is a loaded question. I'm going to try to give a short, succinct answer.
All right. It's okay. It's okay if it takes you a little while to get there. It's okay.
Very long story short.
Okay.
So my background is in electrical engineering.
Yeah.
So I knew it was a funny story. So forgive me ahead of time.
Nope.
Because all of my answers are probably going to come with a story.
Okay. No, we like that. We like that.
I'm 14, 15 years old.
Okay.
In high school. And I'm not thinking I'm going to college because, single parent home,
yeah.
we can't afford it.
Yeah.
Didn't think I was smart enough.
Yeah.
So I was going to go to the Army. Nothing wrong with the military, but I just thought that that was my only option.
Yeah.
And so I had been working with a recruiter, to kind of, get me through the process. Mm-hmm. And my sister, who is 6 years older than me, she was in the Army.
Okay.
And she would come back on leave. And every time she would come back, she would deposit things. She would say things like, Elzie, you're smart. Or have you ever thought about going to college? Or like just dripping those little things. And then one day, something weird happened. I started to believe her. And I said, you know what? I think I am going to go to college. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to, see what I can do. So I meet with my recruiter and I say, Mr. Recruiter, I had a change of heart. I think I'm going to go to college instead. And I never forget it. He was about the same height at the time. He looked me right in the eye and he said, you'll never do it. He said, how are you going to do that? You can't afford to go to college. And in that moment, something snapped in me. And I said, not only will I go, but I'm going to go to the college of my choice and I'm going to excel. And so that sort of started this, some people might call it crazy, spark in me that not only can I do whatever I've set my mind to, but I will do anything that I set my mind to. And so I decided to go into electronics. Did that for several years because I knew two things when I was younger. I knew I wanted a family because I didn't have the one that I thought I deserved growing up. And I knew I wanted
put a pin in that one.
Yes.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted to own a business. So my plan was I was going to get a degree, get a decent job so I can find a wife because no self-respecting woman's going to marry a dude with no job. And then I was going to work that day job until I could, leave and do my own thing. So I'm happy to report July 18th, 2025, the plan worked. Okay, it worked. Got the family, got the business. It took a little bit longer than I anticipated, and it was hard, and it came with a whole lot of stress and ups and downs and all arounds. But that's what I did. I got a job as an electrical technician. Then I wanted more. I wanted to be an engineer. So I went back to school, got another degree, and was doing electrical engineering. And then, of course, I wanted something different because that's just how I'm wired. I'm an entrepreneur. And got into operations. I really appreciated and, enjoyed understanding how organizations worked, how people and resources work together to get to the end goal. And did that for several years and then saved up enough money, got hired at a firm, a substation, OEM, and it was terrible. I think 90% of the people were literally crazy. Like they had emotional issues, like personality disorders. Like these people were crazy. It's like I've worked in environment where that something's off with that person, but it was like everybody. Yeah. It's like I never worked in a place where all y'all crazy. Yeah, like everybody. Yeah. And so that was sort of the catalyst to where I believe God was making the nest uncomfortable. And so I said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. And so I quit, started my own thing. And 6.5 years later, here we are.
I love that you gave the story because I realized that as we grow, people believe that you just, we woke up like this. We landed the plane like this, right? But in landing that plane, you hit some bumps, right? You took some detours. I mean, we all are guilty of it. And I think that that's the part that people understand, that we see the landing of the plane, we see it go up, we see it come down, but we didn't see what the preparation it took to get it up and get it down. And so it's amazing to me. And so, a lot of times we ask people, who you were, who is Elzie as a child. And you alluded to that, which is great. I do want to kind of go back there and ask, while your sister really poured into you in that space to make you shift that this is possible for you, what were your friends and colleagues thinking of you in that space? Like, were they empowering you to say, yes, you should go to Army? Were they empowering you to be an entrepreneur? Like, was that seed planted in you at that young age?
Not really in terms of entrepreneurship. I didn't know anybody that owned their own business. I knew several people who had gone into the military because, again, where my hometown, it is literally the poorest county in the entire state. Like there's, and I mean it's in the best way. There's nothing there, right? Awesome people, amazing, families, but no, there's no opportunity. And so a lot of folks, took that route. I can't think of anybody who was a business owner or in entrepreneurship. It was just something I think that was in there. Was
the seeds were there, and that's what you took them and you ate it, and that's where you went. Yeah, and so that's interesting to say. How? So I'm when I think of mastery, right? I think of our master, right? For those of us who know that God is our master of all things, right? And so I literally was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. How did faith play a role in building this business? And how did faith play a role to know that engineer wasn't going to also be the end all be all for you? Where did faith show up for you?
It's the foundation. It's one of those things where when I was younger, I always knew that, in science class, they teach us evolution and the little guy that was a monkey and then he grows into a man. And I remember thinking,
that's a good one.
This doesn't make sense, like from a logical perspective. And then I started to do some research and I'm like, what? This whole life thing is extremely complex. It's systems that are built on systems and upon systems. And the engineer brain in me was like, this is too complex to be on accident or by chance. So that was one thing. Logically, it just never made sense. And my grandma would take me to church because I was at the time dating my now wife, and one of her conditions was if you spend the night here, because my wife lived right across the street from my grandma.
You guys are from the same neighborhood?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
nice.
And
nice.
so the 13-year-old in me was like, okay, girl, grandma, spend the night over grandma's house to see girl. And
love it.
That's just the way my brain worked. And she was like, okay, cool. You can spend the night, but, on Sunday, you got to go to church. And so that's how I would get exposed to, church and, the whole spiritual side of things. She was never pushy or, telling me that I had to do anything. She just exposed me to it and lived it. And that's one of the things that I appreciated about her is just she just lived it. And I came to the conclusion on my own.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? I mean, I think that's an amazing story versus being pushed in it. Because for some people, they were pushed in it, which is why when they get older, they're pushed away from it. So I think that your grandmother had, she knew that there's some kind of wisdom that, because that was the commonplace. And so when you decided to say, okay, I'm about to start my business, what was that process like from a faith standpoint?
So I am the most strategically random person that you will ever meet.
Okay.
So things tend to happen that in retrospect seem like this high level intense strategy, but it was really like, I'm gonna try this. And then if that doesn't work, then I'll try this. Then somehow God orchestrates it and guides it. Yep. So I've done a lot of different businesses. I've had a record label. Okay. I've had a production company. Okay. I actually owned a minor league basketball team at one point. So I've done a lot of different things, and I've picked up different lessons through each of them. Journey to Mastery was different in that it was a direct call and a direct challenge from God to be bold, to be courageous, and to put faith in the forefront. And so you're asking how did it come about? It was God prompting, saying, okay, I let you do your thing. Now it's time for you to do it the way that I want you to do it. And so for me, Journey to Mastery is much more than a business. It's a calling. It's the season and the assignment. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because it's yes, we want to be successful. Yes, we want to, make revenue, build team members and all the stuff. But ultimately, I want to be obedient and doing what God has called me to do in this season.
And it's so freeing. It's so freeing. I want to go back to, you didn't get the family that you wanted. And so you decided to say, I'm going to create the family that I desire. What was that family makeup? What was that like? Like the one that you're like, it's not the one I wanted.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So what's funny is I was teasing before we hit record how I love Chicago, the city, but I hate the traffic.
Yeah.
I was actually born in Chicago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For the first 5.5, 6 years of my life.
Oh, wow.
And then my mom and dad got divorced. And she moved back to Mounds, Illinois. My grandma had ties to the area. And so she moved back there because she didn't want to be a single mom in the city. Because at the time, we didn't live in the good part of the city. And so she, her wisdom said, okay, I'm going to move to a place that's safer so my kids can go outside and play, because we couldn't go outside and play. So that was my the first 5 years, and I won't go into some of the specifics of it, but I saw things as a young kid that young kids shouldn't see, and that it really taught me, from a spiritual perspective, how not to be. When people think about childhood and growing up, I don't miss things for my kids. Like I can probably count on one hand the things that I've missed because I never got the birthday card. My dad has never seen me play basketball or sing or anything, right? And so that's directly affecting how I parent. It's like, no, I don't care if I've seen this dance 17 times. I'm going to come and see it 18 times, right? It's not about the dance. It's not about anything other than me showing up, me being there, and me showing you that I love you through my actions. Yeah. So that's what I mean when I say that.
And well, let me say this. I also believe that, right, when you think about that, there's even a stat that says that, and I know I'm going to say, so don't y'all judge me, but some of the best pimps are the best pastors, right? Mm-hmm. And so I also believe some of the craziest people are the best entrepreneurs.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you calling me crazy?
I am.
Oh.
Because you're crazy enough to do it. And I say that because that's what happens. We're crazy enough. We're in rooms and people are like, you really don't do that? Like, you're really about to give up this for this? I am. Mm-hmm. And so we're called crazy, right? But one of the things that I've also learned is I think it's because we have crazy faith. I don't think it has anything to do with this. I think we have crazy faith to believe that this is what I was called to do, and that is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. And some don't. I think some don't get it, not because they don't believe it. I think they just don't have that level of crazy faith. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
1,000% agree. I think you have to have some high level of crazy to believe that you're going to be successful, despite what the stats say, right?
Because the stats will, but isn't that in everything though?
True.
Elzie? Like the stats tell you that, right? 1 out of 3 ain't gonna make it, and we still here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So we have to realize, as someone who runs a marketing firm, and that's all I do is look at stats and trends. So that is full disclosure. It's a crazy thing. I have a left and a right brain, right? That left brain does all the things, and then that right brain's like, well, let's come back to this, right? So understanding that. But I do think that, so when we understand business, right? When I was about probably maybe in my early 30s, right? I read a book called Boundaries by Henry McLeod, I think it was. And that book became one of my greatest gifts, and I kept giving it to people. Because one of the things that I believed, and I love, definitely want to get your thoughts about it, was that part of the struggle that I was having is that I was never taught boundaries. That, right, I could work all day, that I could have people call me all day, that I could have people email me all day, and the response is I have to respond, right? And that became the thing. And so when I look at as I was researching this season, right, we have all of these entrepreneurs, in the Black and brown communities that are being birthed as a result with COVID. We saw it, right? But then on the flip side, I'm seeing we're the highest in high blood pressure. We're the highest in diabetes. We're the highest in heart disease. We're the highest in all these things. So it's like, on one hand, we doing it, man, we rocking it, right? But on the other hand, we're dying, right? And so it was alarming for me, because it says we're working, but will we reap all of the things that we're planting in this world to be able to watch our children grow, watch our grandchildren grow, watch our great-grandchildren grow? We haven't had that discussion. And so what I do want to ask you is that, did you have boundaries growing up? And if so, what were they?
Growing up, you mean in my family construct?
Correct.
Or within
in your
my
family?
Yeah, my mom
It's good.
My grandma, I could tell my grandma, I'm going to build a rocket ship and go to the moon. And I'll be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. to pick you up. My grandmother would be on her porch with her little hat on and her bag at 8:30. Like I think she's probably the only person that literally believes in me it's no longer with us, but believed in me more than I believe in myself.
That's what we
need. Between her, my mom, and my sister, they probably the three people that are responsible for me sitting here today, because it was a shift in my mindset that changed my trajectory, right? More than anything else. Of course there's, education and hard work and all the stuff, right? But it was the mindset shift that put me on this trajectory.
And so today I was just, I get my Bible verses sent to me. And I'm going back to it because I thought it was important it's just random. I was like, oh, wow, I'm doing a recording and we're going to talk about this. And so the verse of the day was out of Isaiah, and it said, learn to do right, seek justice. And that's the reason why it was defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless. I didn't know that you didn't have a father. Plead the case of the widow. And so in listening to you, right, that's what your grandmother, like, just like, this is what your grandmother gave you, like, to do right, to seek justice. Like, she defend, like, all the things that you were going through in your head, she defended that, right? And so it just that alone, like, as I was talking, I was like, oh my gosh, this scripture just really speaks to who you are. And the part that I love is the fact that you are helping purpose-driven entrepreneurs, right? And what that tells me as someone who has an agency, and we say we are building and developing purpose-driven campaigns, means that we are doing things to do right in the world, right? And so is that, like, when you wrote that, or you said, hey, this is what did that mean to you specifically?
So for me, what that means is I happen to believe entrepreneurs change the world, right? We're problem solvers. We are the solution. In large part, when you think about the economy, the market, where it's going, entrepreneurship is a skill that more and more people are going to need. Agree. The problem with that, or the challenge with it, as you alluded to earlier, is twofold. It requires a different way of thinking, and it requires a high level of self-care, which is one of the things that I talk about in my book, is how I was working my day job, because I told you my plan. I was doing the day job and talking to the side thing.
But
I was doing
the plane up, bringing it down, bringing the plane, girl, it up.
But I was doing it at the same time, right? So I'm working 40, 50, 60 hours in my day job, and then I'm working hours on the weekend doing the side hustle. And one day, my body shut down, and I got sick to the point where the doctor looked at me and she said, well, don't even go home first. You need to stop by the pharmacy and get the medicine now. Like, it got that bad. And I said all that to say, to your point, we have to take care of ourselves. That's mentally, that's physically, that's spiritually, that's emotionally, that's socially. Like, we have to take care of ourselves, because if we don't, we'll make a ton of money, but we're miserable in the process. We're not operating at our peak efficiency. We're burning bridges, damaging relationships. We miss everything that happened in our kids' life. Like, you miss a lot when you don't put you first, right? There's a reason why when you're on an airplane and they tell you, if we have an issue, put your oxygen mask on first, because if you can't breathe, you can't help anybody else. So that's not selfish. That's actually selfless, because the better you know who you are, to know who you are not, the better you can figure out who you're sent here to serve.
You're listening to Black Businesses Matter, and we will continue our conversation in a second. But first, take a listen to this special message for our BBM fam.
We know how important it is to stay connected, so why not join our BBM Fam Club for special announcements and exclusive offers by texting BBM FAM to 312-300-1300. That's BBM FAM to 312-300-1300 today. Now let's get back to Black Businesses Matter.
And Elzie, here's the thing that I can say, right? I've worked on campaigns with Fortune 100 companies that, pay lots of money, right? I put in, much like you, 65, in my business, 65, 80 hours. And I was doing that consistently all the time, right? Because I didn't know what self-care. That word, right, to me was manifested during COVID. Right. It was, you started to see people, you started to see how many people are just like, I'm just taking some time for myself. But, COVID helped us to take care of ourselves. Right. And realizing that we didn't have that information, that data to tell us in a lot of, I think, Black and brown communities, right? It was work. You got to work. You got to work. Everything was that. So much so that I even recall that I got up early in the morning because I was told that the person who wakes up early in the morning, and gets works done, between 6 and 9 are the smartest people in the world. So then I do that, right? But what they forgot is that meant you need to go to bed at 8 o'clock. But I didn't know that part. So I'm going to bed at 11, 12, 1 o'clock, trying to wake myself up at 6 o'clock in the morning because I heard that these are what the smart people do. And then you wake up and realize, wait a minute, this something's got to give, right? A health scare happens, life situation starts to happen. Then you're like, oh my gosh. And so what I do want to see is, or just share with you, was there a 911 for you to say, like, this is either, right? When they say that on the plane, was this a 911 to say, either I'm going to walk in my calling, or I'm going to say this morbidly, or I'm going to die doing something I don't love to do. Was that a 911 for you?
Definitely. That was the trigger point. Yeah. Where it was like, okay, there's a fork in the road. Like, you can do what you've been doing in order to get what you've always got, or you can do it this way and, get what God has for you. And it was definitely a moment where, you make a decision that you can't go back, and you burn the boats and you burn the bridges, and you're like, okay, cool. This is where we're going. And you commit your mind to it. And that forces you to go with the ebbs and the flows of this whole entrepreneurship thing. Because there are tons of ebbs and flows, and it's ups and downs. And, but I think when you're committed to the process, you always come out on the stronger side. So
when you think about business owners, and I'm sure, with you could probably sense or identify, or it comes out, some of the trauma that they've experienced. How do you help them navigate that and still show up as this business leader?
I think the big thing for a lot of, especially black and brown entrepreneurs, is navigating the reality of entrepreneurship without allowing the reality to stop you from doing what you're supposed to do. Now, the reality of it is success rates for black and brown entrepreneurs is smaller. We don't get funding.
We don't. We don't get staffing.
We don't get staffing. There are fewer resources.
Yeah.
It's culturally, right? Entrepreneurship is about relationships.
Yeah.
But it's extremely difficult to build the relationships if you're not in the room where the relationships are being built, especially if you don't even know where the room is or that the room exists. So the mindset is, okay, I understand the reality of it, but I believe that I can still be successful despite what the seemingly what the reality of it is. So to me, that's a mindset shift. It's like, no, the man does not have his foot on my neck. He cannot stop me from doing what I'm sitting here to do. Right. That type of mentality. And that's difficult.
Yeah.
Because you see the numbers.
Yeah.
If you've been in this thing for any length of time, you see the disparities.
Yeah.
But you have to somehow shift your mind and the way you wake up every day to not ignore it, but to have that crazy faith, as you said before, that despite all of this, this is still the outcome. So that, to me, that's the first step.
Okay.
The second thing is getting good and getting great at the game of business.
Ooh.
That means knowing your numbers. That means showing up in excellence. That means being not perfect, but demanding excellence from yourself and everybody else around you. That's in your website. That's in how you communicate. That's in how you show up. That's in the details. It's like, how firmly do you shake a hand? Or how long does it take you to follow up? Or did you remember the person's name that you like? The little things, those add up to big things, right? And just being great at what you do, like studying your craft. Like you no one can tell me that I'm not good at what I do. You just can't. And that's not arrogant and that's not bragging. That's just because I have put in thousands of hours doing what I do. I know I'm good at what I do. So, but again, understanding like the balance between that confidence and not allowing it to spill over to being arrogance and understanding and appreciating, having gratitude for the opportunity to be a business owner and an entrepreneur, because it's a blessing and it's an honor. So, so all of that, hopefully that answers your question. But I think, the first step is always mindset and really mastering ourselves so that we can master our business.
Do you think if we had these resources to do these things, the number, and I think I know what you're going to say, but the number of Black and brown communities could really thrive in a way that it could be when I say this, transgenerational, that you would have the ability to transfer it to generation if we had those resources. Like if we had that level of self-awareness at the front end, imagine that self-awareness, what that would yield for our businesses. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say if we had the resources and access to all of
that.
I would say no.
You don't think so?
I would say no. Okay. I think ironically, it's an advantage.
Okay.
I think if we collectively shifted our mindset and said, you know what? Cool. We'll build our own.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. Like I'll put us up against anybody. We're good. Yeah.
We're really, but that's the part. I think that this idea of trauma, I've read a book during COVID. It was post-traumatic slave syndrome. And it was, I want to go back to it, but it was so triggering for me to read the book in the midst. I started reading during COVID. So let me just say this. And it just was so triggering because of the effects and how that syndrome is how we're not able to go into rooms and support one another because that lies a real syndrome. And when I was reading in the book, and it's this wonderful doctor, very, very well known, has done a number of speeches and a doctorate in, I think, Black studies. But one of them was that in generations, the Black mom would not highlight the Black son, would not give him compliments, would not credit him, because part of it was that they were afraid that they would take them. So the Black mom ultimately, in our generations, but the great-great-grandmother wouldn't speak so highly of her son or her grandson because they were afraid that they would take them, because they took the smart kids, right, and killed them or oppressed them. And so the dumb, I hate to use that word, but the dumb kids, we're going to put them in the cotton fields, and they're going to be in the cotton fields, and that's the life that you're going to live forever. And so as I was reading, and so you see this dynamic oftentimes, even with young people, it's like the teacher could tell this young boy, and I've been in environments, he's probably one of our brightest young men in this room. Don't tell him that, because it's going to go to his head. And so then that child grows up thinking, right, he's really smart, but his mom has never gave him that level of validation. And so he grows up, question if he's enough, right? So we walk with that. And so when I started to read that book, it gave me understanding of why we do the things we do. And I think that syndrome is the syndrome that doesn't allow for unity. It actually is designed to create tension. And that tension can come into our bodies in all kinds of ways. And so, which means that hard worker that was in the cotton field didn't mean that they were dumb. They just knew how to do stuff with their hands, right? And so, which is where we come from, a generation, right? In generations, parents, there were laborers, plumbers. They were doing stuff with their hands. So the brain, the people that were going to a professional job being clerical, that was a different set of skills. And so if you were great with your hands, then you were going to be rich, right? And so this idea of like shifting ourselves and understanding like you could actually use this brain for good. I think, and so understanding those dynamics, do you see that as you work with these purpose-driven entrepreneurs, that their mindset is still baked in that syndrome that I'm just sharing that I've learned about, and that's what doesn't allow them to see themselves that I'm worthy to get that money, or I'm worthy to get that extra customer. I'm worthy to look at these numbers and believe that I was charging $25, but now I can charge $125. Do you find that these businesses that you work, because you have your background, coming from a community where you were like, it's the smallest, the lowest class. Like, how does a young man like that come from that to be able to let people like see like it's possible? Because I'm a city girl, I'm from Chicago, I see this, but to be from this small town and talk to these entrepreneurs and getting them to understand that, like, what does that process look like for them?
Yeah, I think there is opportunity in every opposition. I think that's the first place to start, is like every wall serves as an opportunity to figure out how to get over, around, or sometimes you got to go through it. That's true. Or sometimes you ignore the wall and build a wall in a different place. Yeah. Or sometimes you build a ramp to go over the wall. So I think that's the first step, is the mindset of understanding that just because there's a wall doesn't mean that there's not a way to still accomplish your goal. And at the heart of it, at the root of it, is believing that that you're worthy, as you said, and believing that, again, regardless of what the numbers say, right? If you were to look at me statistically, I shouldn't be here.
Right.
Like, I shouldn't be here.
Right.
But I am.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm amazing. It's because God is in my life. He has his hand on my life. And that's the only explanation, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. So, a kid from a town of 700 people with one gas station, one grocery store, to be able to build relationships around the world. Like, how improbable is that? Yeah. And there's no other explanation other than I align my belief that God believed in me enough to give me the assignment. And that, I mean, it sounds simple, but that was it. It was just me accepting the call and believing that since he believed in me, then I could believe in myself. And I just do crazy things and I see how it goes. And when it goes well, I give the honor to him. And when it goes poorly, I take accountability and I learn from it and I grow from it and I figure out ways that I can do things. And I try to recognize and live in every moment, and I do my best to serve and to help and to, help people get to where they want to go, and good things happen. So I do more of it. So I help more people and I give more value, and I just repeat the process.
Yeah. Is there value in just wanting to do right?
Of course. Yeah.
I do believe that there is value in it. Even in a capitalist world, you believe that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because again, in every opposition has an opportunity.
Yeah.
So even with this climate that we're in now, there's opportunity.
It is
all over the place. The harder they fight, the laws of thermodynamics say that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Yeah. So the harder they fight, the more opportunity there is. Mm-hmm. We just have to be open enough to find the opportunity and bold enough to take advantage of it.
And bold enough to know it. Do you think that most Black and brown entrepreneurs are faced with a tremendous amount of trauma?
I think we all are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it comes with the territory.
Yeah. And do you think that we identify this as what's keeping us back?
Probably. Yeah. As opposed to, springboards.
Yeah. What do you think, what tools or strategies that a business owner just listening to your story, knowing where there's similar stories, right? Whatever they are, they're similar stories. What tools or strategies? Because see, what I find for business owners is that we don't have the time to take care of ourselves, right? Because we are busy doing our business. What do we need to do, or what tools or strategies you believe that we need to do that you've seen it go from, you know what I mean? I'm just making up numbers, from 500 to 500,000. I mean, that's a big gap, but I'm just saying something to that effect.
I would say that you absolutely don't have time to not take care of yourself. The second thing I would say is get a coach, mentor, trainer, advisor. Maybe not all at the same time, but getting people who are experts and great at what they do is a cheat code. Because I could spend 10,000 hours getting great at something, or I could just pay somebody who has spent the 10,000 hours getting great at something to accelerate my growth. Yeah. The second thing that I would have done right after I started my first business is I would have hired a coach. I would have figured out a way to get somebody that knows business, that can identify my weak spots and say, hey, Elzie, you're really great at the vision, but you need to execute. You need to build a team that can take the crazy ideas and execute them. Because not all of us are good at doing both. Some people are really good executors, right? If you're a barber, you're really good at cutting hair. That doesn't mean your barber business is going to be successful if you're charging too little, or if it takes you an hour to do a cut that should take you 15 minutes and you're undercharging and you don't have a rewards program, like all the stuff, that's right? Good. Hiring people or surrounding yourself with people who have that knowledge is literally, I think, the difference between an entrepreneur surviving and not surviving. And it's the difference of surviving and thriving.
Yeah, it is a big difference. And I think what, in this season that we're trying to do is really expose ourselves in places to be transparent and vulnerable because of the rat race, right? We're chasing, but are we being still? Are we trusting God that being still and waiting, that there is true reward in the wait versus, I need to make this happen. I got to go out here. I got to do this, right? And so realizing that part. So how, and I say, we always ask this question, what brings you joy, is our question, but I'm going to add something else to that is, what brings you joy today?
What brings me joy today is, so my daughter, I shared a little bit before we hit record. She just graduated high school. Yes. And she's going to college this fall. It literally melts my heart to see her growing up, growing into her own, doing her own thing, and becoming a valuable human, right? That she's caring, she's smart, she's funny. That's the shooting match, right? And then to see my son, he's getting into acting, and he's smart as a whip, and like he's caring and funny, and like that is what it's all about. Is my family is making sure that they're good, and that I'm the best husband, the best father that I can be. Because again, I told you, I wanted two things: family and a business. God said, "All right, cool. Here you go. You got both." Now, my job is to be in the moment and to take care of those two things the best I can. So that's what brings me joy.
That's beautiful. And the reason why I'm starting to ask the word now is because I told you, I've probably said I watch and see the research and statistics, and I get caught up in it, that we spend endless hours planning our future, but we spend very minimal hours in our present. That much like what you talked about, as many, like you're not missing your child's day. I don't care how, that's being in the present. Oftentimes, right, the message was dad or mom is doing that so that when you get older, you don't have to worry, but you've missed the present. And so I'm guilty of that as someone who was chasing, and just kind of missed out on things. I am smelling the roses today, and thankfully I'm still here to do it. But not all of us are still here being able to smell it. And so I added the now, because I think it's now versus, we say this thing. And let me say this, you could come back on the show and it's a different thing. And I think that's the other part about it, that you can have joy now. And that's what you're saying. And next year, your joy now could be like, I'm rocking a new pair of sunglasses. I don't know. You know what I mean? It could be whatever. And I think that's where we don't learn how to give ourselves grace in that space. So I'm grateful for you just sharing that. Why do you think in this climate today, right? We built this podcast to shine light on that Black businesses are great partners, great collaborators, great for supplier chains. We didn't do this to not say that they're not other business owners, but what we did say was that they're great collaborators. They're great to hire, but they're also great for you to talk to maybe partner with. There's so many ways, and we've never been able to tell that story. So why now? Because I'm going to add this. Why now do Black businesses matter in this climate?
Well, that is a loaded question. Black businesses matter because, as you shared earlier, they employ Black people. It helps to secure self-determination economically. When you look at family structure, right, it's providing opportunity for families to grow and thrive. It allows us to innovate. It allows us to codify it, right, and to benefit from the innovations that we make, right. So there's tons of things that we've done creatively, technologically, that we don't get credit for because we didn't have access to or awareness on how to formalize it in terms of business. So I think it is one of the ways up and out. Not everybody is going to be 6'6" and be able to play basketball or football or sing. I think business is an accessible way that a lot of our young people can build generational wealth and pass it on. So as you can probably tell, I'm passionate about entrepreneurship because I genuinely think that it is one of our tickets to secure our future.
I do too. So this is where we brag a little bit as we close. What do you have going on that the world needs to know about, that you are brewing up? Because I know you're brewing up now, but it also is an opportunity for people to find out how they can reach you, how they can connect with you. This is your moment.
Cool. So I appreciate that. So the easiest way to connect with me is just my website. It's elzieflenard.com. And when you go there, what you'll find is I'm doing some really cool things that I think they're cool.
Yes.
So I'm building what I'm calling the Journey Feed. And what the Journey Feed is it's a private space where I'm sharing my journey in entrepreneurship, the highs, the lows, the all arounds. I'm sharing things that I don't generally share on public social media. But it's a way that we can connect and stay in touch. I can, share in their joys and triumphs. And then I have the podcast, which last month we celebrated 9 years. Yeah, and as a podcast. So super excited about that.
Yeah, that's exciting.
And then we're building a community called the Journey Crew, and this is where I get to pour all of my years of falling into potholes, messing up things, breaking things, and building them back up with other entrepreneurs that are like me who are passionate, they're purpose driven, but they're just, they're struggling with their mindset. They're struggling to focus. They're everywhere. I know you could appreciate this. You ask an entrepreneur what they're doing and they tell you 17 things, and then you see them 6 months later and there's 17 other things. And you're like, okay, what happened to the first 17 things that you were doing? And so the crew is really about helping, entrepreneurs focus. So they're clear on what they're doing, why they're doing it, and so that they build momentum in their business.
I love it. And I just want you all to know that's Elzie, Elzie Flenard, F as in Frank, LENARD.com. I just wanted to make sure they got that and that can sit with them around that. Guys, this has just been such I'm telling you, this season is probably going to do more for me even than most, because it also just helps to seal my why and why I do what I do, but I also surround myself with people who are entrepreneurs, not because that's cool. It's because there's probably something that they got that I need, or I could be sharpened, or I could be this. That doesn't mean that people are not entrepreneurs we can't learn from, because that's still very well true. But I think, let me say this, businesses that are aligned with you, you can certainly learn from, right? Whatever that business is. And so you guys, Elzie, one thing that you said in your bio, and I love, embrace your story, own your voice, and create meaningful impact is what you do. And I love that. So thank you.
Thank you. Can I say one last thing?
Yes.
So if you go to the website and go to the contacts tab, under there's a Fix Your Focus in 5 days. It's a free 5-day course that you can take that is designed to help you fix your focus.
So fix your focus, y'all. Let's get ready. Let's fix your focus. Like stop playing, stop procrastinating, stop doing all the things and start doing it. And as Elzie said, is that entrepreneurship is our ticket to be able to create true wealth. And I think is in these times is where true story. In 2008, I was working on something with business. That's actually when Airbnb started. We were in a financial crisis and Airbnb was started. Where's Airbnb today? It's still in existence. So whether they've evolved and done other things, but we have to understand that when you look at businesses and you look at when they started, many of them are started in a crisis. So take this time to get clear and fix your focus. Fix your focus. I like that. Guys, check out Elzie Flenard. Thank y'all for rocking with us. I just want to say this really, really quickly. You know that we have a mag. It's called the BBM mag that you can go to our website at the l3agency.com, download it. It's just good content that we curate and produce, but we also highlight some of our podcast guests. And so it allows you to not only just listen, but to be able to actually turn the pages. And if, we do have physical copies, but currently you can just download it, save it, and just hold it, share it with a friend, print it out, save it. But if you're trying to fix your focus, this is the one way to do it. Focus on these kinds of things where you're being more intentional. So thank you guys. We appreciate you, and see you next week for another episode of Black Businesses. Black Businesses Matter.
The Black Businesses Matter podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer, marketing, and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. Follow us on Instagram at Black Businesses Matter.